What's up, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. For our first question, Ed Minty asks if Darth Vader is overused.
I honestly don't think so. I think that in live action specifically, and animation, on-screen stuff, I think they have used him appropriately. Even in most of the comics and books, I don't think he is overused. Like, every time that they come back and they say, we're doing another Vader comic, I'm like, what more do you have to say about this character? And they always surprise me, even in this latest third run. So even though he pops up constantly, I'm going to say I think they use him appropriately. It is a lot still. Your thoughts?
I think that he is overused, but I see your point. I see what you're saying. They have done a little bit better job, I think, for the very big projects to keep him mostly only where we need him. But he just seems to, like you said, he just seems to pop up all the time. I will say this doesn't really matter as much to talk about for content, but he is definitely overused in merchandising.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, he is like one of the most marketable Star Wars characters. Like, everyone knows who Darth Vader is, even if they haven't seen Star Wars.
Yeah.
Or in my case, he's a character that grabs attention. Like, that's how I got into Star Wars, is because I saw Darth Vader and was like, tell me everything about that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I do think that he is... There are so many stories about him, and I'm like, we don't have to keep going back to this well. Every story they've told about him, I think, has been good. So that's why I'm like, maybe I feel a little bit of fatigue on the character, but it doesn't feel overused to me because his appearances still matter and they are important. Like his small cameo at the end of the Clone Wars, he was rarely used in Star Wars Rebels Season 2, but they were impactful. I don't think they've brought the character out with no purpose, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Does this count for Anakin too, or is just this only Vader?
I'm saying only Vader.
I guess sometimes I just feel like a lot of people use this character as a crutch, and it can happen sometimes in storytelling where it doesn't all have to revolve around Anakin/Vader and how these characters connect back to him.
Mm-hmm. I do see what you're saying there, where, you know, Rogue One, it could have been a really fun surprise that Vader popped up. But again, it kind of goes back to marketing. I think it was more of a crutch in marketing, that they're like, hey, everyone, get excited for Rogue One. All these new characters, and also Darth Vader. And then the Obi-Wan Kenobi story, you know, people were excited for that series already. But the reaction when they were like, Darth Vader's coming back, like, we're confirming it now. Even though that makes complete sense, it still does feel like you could have saved some of this stuff just for the show. I'm more thinking of Rogue One at this point, because I think that would have really taken people by surprise, and those last scenes would have been even more impactful had we not known. It's kind of like the whole Terminator 2 thing, where the movie is set up so that you are afraid of Arnold Schwarzenegger for the first half hour or whatever, and you're like, oh no, he's hunting John Connor, and you're supposed to be rooting for the T-1000, and then it gets flipped, and you're like, wait a minute, but they ruined that in trailers just because it's like, won't this be interesting? He's the hero now.
Yeah, and it's the same kind of when we started hearing about what the Obi-Wan show was going to be, and everybody kept calling it the rematch of a century. A lot of people's expectations like shot up for a lot of like cool lightsaber fights from Vader, and we really just got the one.
Yeah, and that's kind of to my point of when they bring him back, it's for good purpose. It's to say something about the character at that point in time, to show how he didn't change for 10 years and how he's going to change for the coming 9. What pushes him to become the Darth Vader we see in A New Hope. So even though it's more in the publishing side when I'm like, we're doing another Darth Vader comic, really? And then it still wins me over, But I am at this point where I'm like, there are other characters. We can get away from Vader and Anakin and all of the Skywalkers.
Yes, we wrapped up the Skywalker saga with episode 9.
Yeah. So. But even then, I think they've kept a pretty good balance of, I'm getting my new stuff out of the High Republic. The Acolyte's coming. I think they're going to keep expanding. And if they want to keep pulling Darth Vader in every once in a while, telling a new story about him, I'm not going to complain.
This reminds me, just because I just finished Shadow of the Sith, that book was great and had like so many cool dark side things in it. No Vader.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool dark side stuff we can do outside of Vader.
Donkey Gut Punch wants to know if Doctor Pershing is now working with the New Republic.
Yeah, so if you were lucky enough to see the Mandalorian Season 3 footage at Star Wars Celebration or elsewhere where it might be floating around online at this point, Dr. Pershing seems like I don't know if he's in cahoots with the New Republic or if they just have him captured. What do you think?
It's hard to say because I don't remember that footage very well.
There were a couple of shots of him kind of like sitting with who I would assume is a New Republic intelligence officer. They're just at a table. There's a shot of him walking around with the comms officer from the Mandalorian Season 2. I wish I could remember that actor's name, but it does seem like he's there. It does seem like he has a level of freedom too. So I guess I do think he is, if not actively helping the New Republic, like maybe he's struck a deal where he'll give them information. Yeah,
I think that's more likely that with the promise of safety and security for him, he's like, okay, I'm not super loyal to either side here, but you're promising me safety, so I'll tell you what I know.
Do you think he cares about Grogu in like a real way? Because I am thinking of episode 3.
Not like he should.
Not like you do. Not like you do. No one does. Not like Din does. Do you think you care about Grogu more than Din?
Yes.
Okay. We'll just have that on the record. But Pershing did have that moment in chapter 3 where he's like, he gets in front of Grogu and he's like, don't hurt him, don't hurt him. Mm-hmm. He thought Din was there to kill the child and he stopped him.
I don't think he cares much for his well-being, no.
It's like he's definitely doing experiments on him.
He cares about the science behind it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's more likely. But it's like, that moment is interesting.
It's like people who sent a dog to the moon. They cared about the science and not the dog.
Yeah. For all mankind. Watch it. Yeah. But I feel like he does show some level of like, he's just a child. He does seem to have so I'm just kind of walking myself through. Is he working with the New Republic willingly? Like, is he giving information, trying to stop the Empire from whatever they're doing? How did he get roped into all of this in the first place?
He didn't really seem super loyal with the Empire. Just kind of like, I mean, a lot of people working for the Empire, it's kind of their only choice, and they're kind of having their hands forced into it.
Right. Like, I wonder if he himself was captured and forced into this. Yeah. Because, yeah, he flipped on the Empire as soon as they captured him and he got part of his ear shot off.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm going to go with, I hope that he is actively helping, like choosing to help the New Republic. Sure, there's probably a deal involved, but I'm hopeful that he genuinely does have some care for Grogu, and maybe he wants to make things right.
We'll see. Dr. Pershing,
do the right thing.
You watch it.
Molly's watching you.
Elliot Finn asks if the Acolyte will be an ongoing series or will it be limited?
I guess in my mind I've been treating it as if it would be a one-season thing. Maybe that's just to not get my hopes up.
That's a good place to start. I'm gonna just go with my gut and say it'll be ongoing, but we really won't know until we get an idea of how large of a scale storytelling this is going to be.
I mean, I think it has plenty of room to be multiple seasons and flesh out the High Republic era for people who hadn't read about it and now they're getting to see it on screen. You know, there's plenty of room to expand on whatever you're doing. It just seems like a lot of the MO for these stories, I'm mostly focusing on Marvel, but a lot of them are just one-offs. It seems like. Mm-hmm. Loki is going to have a season 2 for sure. I bet more of them will, but right now it seems like they're doing one-off stories. But I'm hopeful it's more.
Yeah, I mean, it could really go either way, and like we all thought that, you know, Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan would be one-offs, and they probably are, but it's like they said in interviews, it's like, well, I don't know, we'll see, anything could happen.
Not to totally shift things, but there was like a flyer for a concert in Argentina, and that was like co-produced by Disney, and they were giving out like, here's the Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus, and it said like Obi-Wan Kenobi streaming now, The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 streaming now, season 3 coming soon, Bad Batch season 2 coming soon, and then it says Book of Boba Fett season 1 streaming now, season 2 coming soon. So I don't know if that accidentally got out. Maybe they will do a season 2. Maybe they'll let him off Tatooine.
Could have been lost in translation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're going to make whatever they think will make them money. So Boba Fett sells well.
I do think that's the answer. Like, I won't be surprised if they go into the Acolyte with a multi-season plan, but they might put it out, see the reaction, and then move forward from there. Because this is new territory. It's the High Republic on screen. They might have some level of confidence thanks to the books being like, oh, a lot of those hit the top of the New York Times bestsellers. So if we got the publishing side hooked, then maybe that's a good sign of what's to come for how people will react to this era on screen.
Do we have any idea if that Young Jedi Adventures show is going to come before the Acolyte?
Chronologically?
Just like what's going to be released to the public first?
Yes, that should come out first because the Acolyte has not started filming yet. The Acolyte will probably come out in early 2024 if I had to guess. And I
wonder if that would lead into something for the Acolyte, because that's also set in the High Republic. And like, there's tons of stuff to choose from the books so far, but usually shows will spin off from other shows.
Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they teased some things. And that is a full-on, I think from what I read, it's a full-on series. It's not like Forces of Destiny or Galaxy of Adventures, which I kind of thought it would be.
It'll be like Clone Wars.
Yeah, it's going to be targeted at a very young audience, but it is a full-on series. And I don't know, the High Republic era is so big by itself. It spans hundreds of years, so there's room for the books to take place here and the young adventures to take place way over here, and then we know the Acolyte is taking place at the tail end of the era. So I don't know, it could be spread out, but it wouldn't surprise me if there were hints of what's to come. Anyway, I hope there are multiple seasons of the Acolyte. I'm trying to temper my expectations.
Doomslayer 420 wants to know how things would have been different if Qui-Gon had actually joined the Jedi Council.
So specifically talking about the book Master and Apprentice, where he is offered a position, but he chooses to continue training Obi-Wan instead. I don't really think he would have shifted the timeline significantly. Mostly because I just don't think the other members of the Jedi Council would have listened to him.
Yeah, I mean, is this saying we're still gonna find Anakin?
Maybe not. Well,
because like, I think if he had been on the council when Anakin was being trained by whoever, things would have been a lot different for him.
Yes. And he may not have... Okay. I was thinking of it as basically like this is the one thing that changed, but you're right. That would mean he probably wouldn't be on the mission where Anakin was discovered, and he might be on the council. Let's assume Anakin's still discovered and then brought to the council. Qui-Gon would have been like, you got to train this kid. Although we don't know what master would have gone to Tatooine. It could have been Luminara Unduli, and she would have been like, oh, you're a slave? How sad.
Well, oh. Okay, well, I'm thinking just assume the only thing that's different by the time Anakin is being trained as a Padawan is that Qui-Gon is part of the council.
But he's not training Anakin.
Right.
Mm.
But I think that would have made things really different for Anakin, because he would have had a friend that isn't Palpatine.
That's true.
On the council. And even if they weren't technically friends at that point, like, I think Qui-Gon just would have been on the right level to be able to speak to Anakin in a way that's like a little bit more warm and forgiving.
Even if he weren't specifically his master, he would still be able to, be a mentor.
Yeah. And I don't think Qui-Gon by himself would have been able to really change how the council did things as a whole, but it probably would have helped for the better.
Like, part of me wonders if he got onto the council, if they would have kicked him out 2 weeks later. Like, just, we're already tired.
He wants to change the carpet. He wants to put everyone in daily yoga classes. He's like, this is going to be great. We have a salad bar. And they're like, get out.
Cheeseburgers or nothing. So then maybe he joins, he's kicked off the council, he still winds up going to Naboo, and everything happens exactly the same. Honestly, that sounds pretty realistic. Yeah. I just don't see the rest of the council truly listening to him.
Probably not. I don't know why in this scenario I'm thinking of him as like a hippie.
I mean, compared to the rest of the council.
He's giving everyone death sticks. Chill out, man. Midichlorians. They're in our blood. Okay. Cody James asks what that ball of light at the end of The Phantom Menace is. Oh, boy.
Uh-huh. You know why I picked this.
You gotta bring this back up.
You know why I picked this. So, what is it, Molly?
It's plasma.
Uh-huh.
It's a plasma ball.
And why do we know that?
Because of Dragon Con trivia.
Uh-huh. So, last year at Dragon Con Trivia 2021, Molly and I were in the final 3 with Marie, who is a fellow Schmodown competitor, and she won the Dragon Con Trivia in 2020, which you can watch on our channel because we streamed it. And so it's the 3 of us, and they asked, what is that ball? Not what it's called. It's called the Globe of Peace. What it is a symbol of peace between the Gungans and the Naboo, and it's the Naboo giving the Gungans just a gift, a shiny, pretty gift. Mm-hmm. And we were asked, what is it literally made out of? And we didn't know, so what did you put?
Well, I put something that it is technically correct. I said, it's a major award.
Yeah, but what is that? It's a major award.
That's true, yes.
I went the Christmas Story route, and I said, it's a major award.
Yeah. I had no idea, and so I wrote The Dreams of Gungan Children. And then Marie won because she knew, and it's literally just plasma. And we were both like, we are such idiots. Like, if we had just guessed, we might have gotten it.
That thought did cross my mind. I was like, well, I know plasma exists in Star Wars because that's the plasma refinery is where the big fight in Phantom Menace takes place. Why it's connected to the palace, who knows?
Yeah, because the palace needs a lot of power.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just like, we could have kept going. We could have still been in the game. If only we had thought to make an actual guess instead of write joke answers.
It's fine. If we had all gotten that right, it would have had the potential to keep going on forever.
That's true.
Today's episode is sponsored by Athletic Greens. They sent us their daily vitamin supplement, AG1. I started taking AG1 to see if it would help give me more energy, especially in the morning. I like coffee, but I know caffeine isn't the best for you, so I thought swapping it out with AG1 would be an interesting experiment. I've been taking 1 scoop mixed with 10 or 12 ounces of water first thing after I wake up. It's loaded with 75 vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and more. I would say that it has helped me wake up and have more productive days in the month or so that I started taking it. I've also noticed that I've been falling asleep easier, which has been a struggle for me as long as I can remember. AG1 costs less than $3 a day, and your subscription also includes a year's supply of vitamin D. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Star Wars. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/Star Wars to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. And now, back to the show.
On to YouTube questions. JS wants to know when Luke learned Rey was a Palpatine.
So, you just finished Shadow of the Sith, and we were kind of debating this already. I do think that Luke has enough context clues to not necessarily know that Rey is a Palpatine, but he might be able to put together that this girl that shows up on Ahch-To and says she's from Jakku, he might be able to realize, oh, that's the girl that Lando and I were trying to help years ago and didn't successfully.
But he didn't know who Dathan was.
No. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he would be able to go, she's a Palpatine right away.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he knows enough. He might be able to say, that's that girl that we tried to help.
Yeah.
So then knowing that knowledge, do you think he could make another jump in logic?
This is frustrating. All the storytelling having to try to make sense is kind of frustrating. But I don't know. I think there has to be something else that he learns elsewhere for this to work. Like, he has to learn that there were these projects. I hate to call Dathan a project, but he was kind of an experiment.
Yeah.
I think Luke would have had to have learned that those experiments were happening and that some of them are just living out in the world as normal people. And then maybe he could have put 2 and 2 together. Honestly, though, I think it was just the movies made it seem like it was just that he sensed it. Him and Leia kind of sensed it in her.
My headcanon has always been that it was after he became one with the Force. Because then you kind of exist outside of time and space. And I feel like he would be able to know everything. Or maybe
Galaxy brain.
Yeah, or maybe immediately Yoda or Obi-Wan were like, hey, Luke, good to have you here. That girl's a Palpatine. Just quick heads up. And then I think he told Leia. That's been my headcanon. But it is possible that... I'm sorry, who presented this question?
JS.
So JS, I think, put forth the idea that it was after he reconnected with the Force on Ahch-To. Which would then kind of add some urgency to him running back to the hut.
Mm-hmm.
When he's like, Rey, I have to tell you something big.
Oh boy.
I don't really think that's the case. It's possible. I think it makes the most sense for me to have him find out after he died.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that frustrate me about episode 9. We all know this. I'm learning to love it. But this is one of the things that does bother me every time it comes up, like the fact that Luke and Leia just knew who she was, and it's like, well, how? It's fine that they knew that, and they knew that she was going to go on and do great things. Didn't think it was relevant to like have to tell her. I love that.
Yeah,
but the fact that
they didn't let it affect how they felt about her, but it is very much like Obi-Wan not telling Luke. It's like the same thing.
Yeah, which I don't know if that was the plan all along.
Oh, it certainly wasn't. I mean, like, I'm thinking of Luke at the end of Empire going, Ben, why didn't you tell me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously he wanted to know, he wished he knew. So it seems like if he knew in life, he would have told Rey. Which, again, JS is pointing out that maybe he was rushing to the hut to tell Rey. It's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the simplest way to explain it is that, yeah, Force ghosts just know a little bit more than everybody else.
Yeah, but then Leia knew and didn't tell Rey. And I wonder if Ghost Luke was constantly like, Leia, you should tell her. I would have wanted to know.
I would really like to know if once Luke became one with the Force and learned to be a Force ghost, if they had conversations, Luke and Leia.
I think so.
I think so too, but like, show us that.
Yeah.
Matthew Kelly asks if Cassian and Mon Mothma will work together a lot in season 1 of Andor.
I don't think so. I'm just basing this off of interviews and stuff that they've said. I think we're going to see a story where they start very far apart, and in the final episodes, they finally meet and come together.
Yeah, I think at this point, Cassian is going to be very much out in the thick of it. And Mon Mothma's obviously like hanging out with all the politicians, going to parties, hanging out in Coruscant.
I think Gilroy said that Cassian, like most of season 1, Cassian is on this one planet. And they're just kind of not on a galactic scale, but on a planetary scale fighting the Empire. And Mon Mothma is fighting the Empire from Coruscant and doing what she can. And I think maybe part of the season will be about how those two, like the politics and the soldier, come together to form the rebellion.
Right. And at some point, yeah, we'll probably see them actually meet in person for the first time and then learn that, like, yeah, down the road, she promotes him to rebel intelligence.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what the relationship is like because, I mean, they're in the same room together. She knows his name, but also Draven is above him. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, why wasn't Cassian in Draven's position if they did work closely together? Or I'm interested to see how much they interact.
Draven could have just been a little bit more connected with the people, the higher-ups like Mon Mothma and stuff. Like, he could have started out in that world and slowly moved into the more underground stuff. And then Cassian might have just been always in the underground.
Yeah.
Star Wars Decoded wants to know if Rogue Squadron will be similar to Top Gun Maverick about a mentor teaching a new generation of pilots. I feel like we've covered this already.
I mean, I have been saying since Rogue Squadron was announced, and it sounded like it would be post-Episode 9, I was like, okay, so obviously it's about Wedge as the main, like, in the Maverick role, but I just said it was Wedge passing on the torch to new pilots. He's training new pilots, and then at the end they all go on a mission together, which is exactly what happens in Top Gun. Mm-hmm. I would say that maybe they won't do that because that is the exact plot of Top Gun, but I will also say that Top Gun's plot is just A New Hope as well. So, and that's not a knock on the movie. I loved it.
It's poetry, it rhymes.
But they did a trench run. They had a thermal exhaust port that was 3 meters wide. So Top Gun pilots aren't as good as Luke and Wedge and Biggs. They had to hit 2 meters.
They had a couple of unsuccessful first tries, and then the bad boy had to come in and fix it. The kind of roguish character who was more selfish comes in and helps save the day at the end. So yeah, I do think that without a targeting computer.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Rooster had to use the Force basically. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Again, not a knock on Top Gun Maverick. I loved it. I thought it was great. And so I'm like, if they do that same story, I don't care. People are definitely gonna make those comparisons and be like, this is basically Top Gun. And it's like, that was probably always
this tale is old as time. Like, the idea of the rough, older, like, I'm too old for this ish, and like
ish.
The like general who's like just about to retire and has to come back and train the whippersnappers. Oh yeah, I mean, like, tons of movies use that as storytelling. I wouldn't be surprised if this was the same.
Yeah, and just because some surface elements will be similar if they go that route doesn't mean it'll be a bad movie. Doesn't mean they can't tell a very different story. I mean, Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, I can point and connect dots and be like, look, it's the same, but also it's not. Like, the characters are different, the relationships are different. That's what really sets the movie apart. It's just funny to be like, trench run, Death Star, targeting computer. Like, It is funny.
Abject Permanence asks if Hu Yang has history about the Darksaber in his databanks.
I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Building off of last week, we talked about Hu Yang and why he might be needed for Ahsoka's mission. Also, I need to issue a correction. Plenty of people in the comments pointed out that Ezra gave his lightsaber to Sabine. So I mentioned something about maybe they would try to track Ezra's lightsaber, so that would not work. Also, everyone told me that I said Sebastian Stan instead of Sebastian Shaw. I'm so sorry.
Shame.
Oh my gosh.
Shame.
One little mistake and everyone's ready to pounce.
I edited it and I was just like, doo-doo-doo, that sounds right.
I would have told you to keep it in, or I would have recorded like Shaw as a very obvious replacement. Anyway, yeah, I imagine Hu Yang would know about the Darksaber because as long as he was around at the time of Tar Vizsla, it was a Jedi lightsaber. So I would assume it was built with his supervision.
This is really interesting, and I don't know why we'd never thought about this, but yeah, this makes a lot of sense. And it kind of goes with my idea that this might not be his first appearance in a show. Hu Yang,
yeah,
like he might show up in Mando season 3 or something,
or the Bad Batch,
or Bad Batch. Like he knows some stuff. He's been around for a long time, so I would not be surprised if he knew about the Darksaber.
Yeah. It's like we were using lightsaber construction as a jumping off point because that's what we know his primary thing is in the Clone Wars. But yeah, he's been around so long. He's got plenty of Jedi lore in there. It could connect back to Din and the Darksaber and all of that. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.